Hey, just got done watching the second episode of TNT's Legends with Sean Bean, so I thought I would just go ahead, because I'm bored, and review the first two episodes and just kind of how the start of this new series is, what I think of it, and kind of go from there. I'm really behind, but I was going to do some other television reviews, which I will eventually get around to doing, but tomorrow is Sin City 2, so I'm going to review that tomorrow. But tonight I'm reviewing Legends. So Sean Bean is in a new TV series. It's a crime investigation, action drama, whatever you want to call it. It's one of those shows. And the structure of the show is it's one of those shows, just going by the first two episodes, seems to be one of those shows, kind of like The Blacklist, where like each episode is kind of a procedural where they it's about the FBI and they investigate a new case in every episode, but it's not just a procedural. There's a subplot throughout the series involving the main character. So even though in each episode they're doing a new case, as this is happening, our main character is also going through the bigger plot that's happening in the background. So if I had to guess, as season one continues to progress, this plot involving Sean Bean is probably going to expand and become more in front, more of the big picture. So again, kind of like The Blacklist or something like that. It's kind of a procedural show, but then there's also an ongoing story going on, which that's what I want. As far as action, crime investigation shows go, I'm pretty tired of procedurals. I don't care for CSI or Law and Order, where it's just like every single episode there's a new case with very little character development within the main characters. I don't want that. I want an ongoing story, and I want an ongoing character development and consistency within that. And how is this show? It's okay. This is one of those shows where they got a big name to be their lead, and that's what they're focusing all of their attention on. This whole show is just literally being carried by Sean Bean, because this show is not very well written, and none of the supporting characters are interesting. Sean Bean is literally taking this pretty generic show, and he's saying, okay, I'm going to make this kind of cool. Single-handedly, I might add. It's not that good. Like, it's directed and edited it's very generic stuff. We've seen this in a lot of other shows, and the action is generic, nothing special. The supporting characters are really cardboard cutout. It's the same characters we've seen in all of these kind of shows. There's nothing unique about them except Sean Bean. I believe her name is Ali Larter. She was in Heroes, I think. She's like the second lead, and she's kind of Sean Bean's sidekick in the FBI. She's okay. Like, I think performance-wise, Ali is fine. I think she's giving a good performance, but her character is weak. She's like, Sean Bean is he's a guy that goes undercover for the FBI. That's his thing. This whole show is Sean Bean going undercover. And when he goes undercover, he plays these characters that he has created over the years, and they're called legends, hence the title of the show. So he portrays these legends, and the thing is that Ali Larter is she's the character who doesn't trust Sean Bean. She's saying, Sean Bean is, too unstable, he's too on the edge, blah, 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 blah. She's one of those characters, but if I recall from the pilot, they kind of hint at one point that, they clarify that, her and Sean Bean at one point like hooked up. So now there's like, even though they don't like working together, there's like this sexual tension between them. Really generic stuff. Sean Bean is divorced and he has a son who like he wants to be close with, but his work schedule interferes with that, and his ex-wife can't stand it, and she also can't stand how he cares more about his job than like trying to be a good father. Blah 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 blah. You've seen this before. As far as the first 2 episodes go, the case that Sean Bean's investigating for each one, again, it's the same stuff. In the first episode, in the pilot, it was like he's investigating. I think it was like a cult, I think, or like a gang that was like doing these kind of gang-related terrorist activities. And so he goes undercover as this kind of unstable, socially awkward science guy that's going to like help them develop a bomb. And then in this episode, this one I just got done watching, this guy who used to like make weapons but now like is in witness protection, has a family of his own. He and his family get kidnapped by like his former colleagues, and they're trying to force him to make this deadly weapon. Sound familiar? Yeah. This is nothing new. And I'll get to what the Sean Bean's main plot throughout the series. I'll get to that in a second. But yeah, these procedural cases that we're watching in each episode, it's nothing new. It's the same old stuff. The FBI is portrayed like they are in any of these shows. They're not very competent, and they use cliche dialogue like, I have you with me because you're the best at what you do, blah, blah, blah. And, yeah. But I do recommend the show, and I'll tell you why. Because like I said earlier, Sean Bean saves this show. Because Sean Bean's character is awesome, and Sean Bean is awesome. And this show totally knows it. This show is totally aware that it is not that clever and not that original, but Sean Bean single-handedly just carries this show along. So, so he's really good at playing legends. He's really good at being undercover. In fact, you could say he's too good at being undercover. And so the idea is that he is so good at playing these fake people when he's undercover that people think that he might have multiple personality disorder. They think he might be a little loose in the head. So, and so whenever he goes undercover, they actually, like, every time he plays one of his legends, so to speak, and this is kind of cool of the show, they will introduce this character that he's playing, this personality that he's performing while he's undercover, as if to say this is an actual person, because that's how detailed he is when he's undercover. It's like he has this fake person's entire life story laid out for you. What he's like, who he's like, what he does, what he's done, what he wants to do. So that's kind of cool because because the show's about being undercover, and it is cool like that they go into a lot of detail about these personalities that Sean Bean is putting on while he's undercover. So that's pretty cool. So yeah, and Sean Bean, what's really cool about this is that because the characters that he's playing undercover they're all different, and they all have like different backgrounds and different accents, Sean Bean gets to really show his acting in this show. He really gets to have a diverse amount of performing because he's playing a character who's playing different characters. So you get to see him really branch out, which is really cool. And of course his character is as an action guy. He's super cool. You like rooting for him. It's cool to watch him shoot up some bad guys. So that's really cool. So as far as the actual like plot that's ongoing throughout the series, at least again going by the first 2 episodes here, is that Sean Bean, yeah, like I said earlier, he's divorced, has a kid, he's kind of on the edge. He suddenly gets told, he's suddenly told by this weird, sketchy, homeless veteran that the person who Sean Bean thinks he is not actually him, and that this divorced FBI undercover agent is actually a legend that he created and that he's currently playing. And so it's all this, he's saying it's like this big conspiracy. And then, of course, the veteran who tells him, the homeless guy that tells him this, gets killed, so he has no more, so Sean Bean's kind of like left in the dark here. So, and he's not sure because he is kind of unstable, so he's not sure what to believe anymore. So of course that's going to unravel more. So it's almost like a, it's almost like a Total Recall kind of plot. And it is interesting, like that actually is, as far as plot goes, that actually, that subplot, that plot involving Sean Bean's character, that is pretty interesting. It's got me wanting to know more about it, specifically because it actually involves Sean Bean's character. Honestly, I would much rather the show just focus on that and not on the procedurals, not on just a new case in every episode. But again, I'm sure as the season goes on, they will focus more and more on it. So do I recommend it? I mean, I bashed it for a while there, I know. Yeah, I do recommend it for the most part, but especially if you're into these kind of shows. If you liked The Blacklist, if you like that kind of show, you'll probably like something like this, especially if you're a fan of Sean Bean. Real quick, everyone kind of jokes about Sean Bean dying in a lot of the movies and television shows that he stars in, which is true. If he dies in this show, there's no way this show is going to last. Because, like I said, he's the only shining light in it. So, do I recommend it? Yes, but don't go out of your way to watch it. Like, if you have time for it, sure. This isn't a show that, like, you have to see, like, right now. But, yeah, I mean, sure, I'd recommend it. It's a Sean Bean show. I know I keep saying that, but it's true. The whole thing is, all of the show's focus on its good writing is on his character. And it works because he's awesome. But the rest of the show really needs to improve. And I'll go ahead and watch the rest of this season, sure. If it doesn't get much better by the end of the first season, I probably won't watch the second one. So we'll see what happens. But that's my review of the first 2 episodes of Legends. We'll see where this goes. So thanks for watching.